Going on YouTube. Today I'm going over four of my favorite software development books, but first let me digress for a little bit. I think over time as you gain experience in your career, you should really start to dial in and become more focused. Be very, very deliberate with perfecting your craft. And when I say very deliberate, I mean everything you should do should have the sole purpose of making you that much better. Ultimately, no matter the profession, we all should aspire to be the best at what we do, and having that mindset is a major, major key to achieving this. I know for me personally, a lot of the people I look up to, the tech entrepreneurs, the professional athletes, the business moguls, software engineers, scientists, like you name it, they're all masters of the craft or considered experts in their domain. And even if they're not experts, they do one thing really, really well. And that's a huge motivation for me. I mean, like, who doesn't want to be like the Michael Jordan, like the Wayne Gretzky, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs? Insert exceptionally talented name here. Like, who doesn't want to be that person? The people that usually leave a legacy behind are those that have achieved some expert level of proficiency in a certain field or profession, and we all have the ability to become experts at what we do. But you need to have the drive, the persistence, and the right tools at your disposal. Nowadays, we have endless resources that allow us to acquire massive amounts of knowledge, and deciding on the best resource can be overwhelming at times. But I think a key is to choose the best medium that suits your learning style. It could be videos, online tutorials, courses, whatever it may be. Choose one, be persistent, be consistent, and make it a habit. If you don't make it a habit, you're not going to do it consistently. So for me, it's books. I try to read as often as I can, and more specifically, books that allow me to dive deep into the subject matter with ample examples and actionable steps to follow. And I want to put an emphasis on the words examples and actionable steps to follow. I've read many books where 80% of the content is filler, is fluff, with no explanation or blueprint to follow, and there's nothing more annoying than making your way halfway through a book, or sometimes like making your way to the end of the book and realize you've gained nothing from it. Like, time is one thing, unfortunately, that we can never get back, so I'm super stingy with my time and what I spend it on. But before I digress a bit too far, let me kind of reel it back in here, get back to the books. So there are a few things I look for in books that help me gauge its utility and what I hope to get from it. The first is readability, the second is content, the third is structure, and the fourth are examples. So let's start with readability. I'm not a fan of books where I have to spend a majority of my time kind of poking around in a word soup trying to figure out what the author is saying. I prefer concisely written books. If something can be explained in a few sentences, do just that, explain it in a few sentences. I don't need it wrapped in a paragraph of complexity that I have to reread multiple times just to try and get an understanding from it. Just give me the meat and potatoes and be done with it. Number two is content. Does the content match the introduction and the back of the book? I mean, if I get a book about how to, say, build a boat or build a canoe, and I base it on the back of the cover and the introduction, then I'm expecting the content within the book to follow suit, but with a lot more detail. Number three, structure. Most people read books in a linear fashion, so the structure of a book is expected to follow somewhat of a linear order, although this also depends on the content of the book. So let's go back to my book about building a boat or building a canoe. It's expected that chapter one wouldn't be about putting the boat in the water and paddling downstream. Chapter one would probably be about gathering all the necessary tools and necessary pieces required to build a boat, right? So I guess one thing is some books are structured in a way where you can read the chapters out of order, but most authors are usually pretty good about letting you know how the book can be read. And then number four is examples. Note this depends on a book as well, but for me, examples are a big one, more so because I'm a visual learner. I'm able to pick up on things a lot quicker when I'm able to see how it's implemented, especially if it comes to programming techniques, syntax, and algorithms. And this goes hand in hand with number one, readability. The example should clearly demonstrate how to do something, and the main purpose of the examples is to give more clarity and understanding, not to add more confusion. So clear examples, that's a big one. With that said, those are my four: readability, content, structure, and examples. I think what I'll do as I'm discussing each book, I'll stick a rating on the right-hand side, a rating out of 5 for each of the four I just discussed: readability, content, structure, and examples. First book is called The Passionate Programmer. It's by Chad Fowler. So this book I read during my third year as a professional developer. The first couple of years of my development career were a blur, and then the third year I was starting to find and define my path as a developer. So I started researching on how to become a better developer and succeed in the field, and this book popped up quite a bit. The main idea behind the book is to treat your career as a business, meaning follow the same path you'd follow if you're building, marketing, or selling a product, except You are the product in this case. It's a simple idea. If you're not willing to invest in your business or your product, aka yourself, then why would others invest in you? The book covers things from keeping your skills current to choosing whether to be a generalist or a specialist to how to have a sit down with your manager to discuss how you can be more of an asset to the company. There's a particular chapter called Be the Worst. I found this chapter super interesting. The author talks about people who can significantly improve or regress in skills based on who they're surrounded by. There's a quote from the book that states, "The people around you affect your performance, choose your crowd wisely." And I think that's 100% true. Iron sharpens iron. If you want to become a better developer or better at anything, you need to surround yourself with people that make you better and that force you to rise to their level instead of the reverse. As for the layout of the book is broken down into 5 sections. Each section contains tips, anecdotes, and act on it examples. The act on it examples are my favorite part because they give you a blueprint of how to do something. So here's an example. It's from a chapter called Remember Who You Work For, and it's about making your goals align with the goals of your business. So the example states, 1. Schedule a meeting with your manager. 2. The agenda for you to understand your manager's goal for the team for the next coming month, quarter, and year. 3. Ask how you can make a difference. 4. After the meeting, examine your daily work and see how it aligns with the goals of your team. 5. Let this be a filter for everything you do. And then 6. Prioritize your work based on these goals. This book is filled with gems I think every developer should know, especially those looking to take their career to the next level. And it's meant for all developers at all skill levels, junior, intermediate, senior. You can all gain something from this. All right, so the next book on the hit list is called Code Complete. It's a second edition by Steve McConnell. This book covers all aspects of software development, ranging from variable and class naming to building your own programming tools. It's a pretty dense book, but it's an easy read with well thought out examples, and the examples are super easy to follow. I can see it sitting on your desk as a reference to use from time to time, and some of the syntax and terms are a bit outdated, but overall the ideas are still applicable. This book is one where you want to make notes and highlight certain useful sections and then use them for future reference. So the next book on the list is called Refactoring Improving the Design of Existing Code by Martin Fowler with contributions by Ken Beck. The overall idea of the book is how to take poorly designed code and turn it into clean, well-designed, robust code. This comes in especially handy if you have to deal with legacy code on a day-to-day basis. I've used many of the techniques when writing new code and also for maintaining and refactoring old legacy code, and I found that the code base is a lot more concise, a lot more readable, more maintainable, and it's easier to implement new features, and it's also easier to track down bugs. So I definitely would recommend this book if you're looking to just clean up your code base and make it a lot more maintainable. The content of the book is well structured, and the author gives hints about what you should pay attention to and what you should ignore based on what you want to learn. So for those just looking to kind of jump in, find what they need and get out, this is the perfect book for that. There are a lot of examples throughout the book, and they're all super clear and easy to understand. I've been through the book and used the bulk of the techniques, and for some of the techniques I've been using them within minutes. They're that easy to pick up. I think Kent Beck and Martin Fowler did a great job with this. A lot of the techniques in the book I think every developer should be using every day, whether they're writing new code or whether they're dealing with legacy code. You're definitely going to see the maintainability and readability in your code base grow by leaps and bounds. This is one you should have on your desktop for real. And last but not least is Clean Code, the Handbook of Agile Software Craftsmanship by Robert C. Martin, aka Uncle Bob. This is where I first stumbled across the concept of craftsmanship in the field of software development and becoming a better craftsman by following specific techniques and best practices. So this book covers topics varying from how to format code to improve readability, how to create good names for objects, classes, and functions, to error handling and unit testing with test-driven development. This book is quite code heavy, not too crazy though, so be prepared to read a lot of Java code. There's quite a bit of exercises to help you grasp how to implement the techniques discussed throughout the book. The exercises vary in length and complexity depending on the topics being covered. It is possible to read the book and gain an understanding without doing the exercises, but I'd suggest doing the exercises just to get a full understanding of how to use some of these techniques. This is another book that I use as a reference from time to time, and I have it sitting on my desktop. So there's my list. I don't have a favorite. I love all my books equally, but if I was to recommend one to read for sure, actually let me recommend two here. I'd recommend Refactoring Improving the Design of Existing Code by Martin Fowler, and then The Passionate Programmer by Chad Fowler. Either get those two, you can get all four. I have all four, and it was worth the investment. I've seen myself grow as a developer. My mindset has changed, and I've seen just my coding practices and everything just grow by leaps and bounds by implementing some of the techniques I've read in these books. And I think you will have that same result. So remember, always strive to be exceptional. always feed your mind. Keep on reading. Feel free to like and subscribe, leave some comments. Let me know about some of the titles you guys are reading. Anyhow, take it easy, YouTube. Until next video, peace out.